Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have with us, so this guy's a little bit of a jack of all trade. He's an actor, stuntman, also an author and screenplay writer, and he wrote a book that he's adapting into screenplay, and it is called Ice House. I have with us Christopher Michael. Christopher, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful and thank you because I love horror. I've always loved horror since I was a little kid. And, going to the movies and seeing it, especially the old Dracula movies, and then progressing into the Freddy Krueger movies and the Stephen Kings. Always had a great imagination, even when I was in school. And that's what kept me going. I grew up with dyslexia, so uh, I was always told back then, why don't you do something else because this will be too hard for you? And I didn't do it because I have a mother. She's from France and she was a French novelist, and she always told me, always go what your passion is. And so I had a lot of passions. I had the writing aspect of it. I would go into a movie theater and sit down and always say, "Wow, this could be done this way or that way." Look, and as I got older, I started writing, and my mother was like, "Don't worry about being right or grammatically being right or the spelling. Just get it on paper, get it out of your head." Put it down and then go back and correct it. And ever since then, I've listened to that. It's always taken me different places. And so when I published my first horror book in 1995, it was based on the fact that when I went out to San Diego to play football, to go to school, to get laid.
What
I
you
don't
always
mean
say,
to
yeah.
say it that bad, but to women. I was 17 years old coming from
Well, you get laid
Massachusetts.
too. Women go to
Yeah,
college to get laid too. So I mean,
yeah.
everybody goes to college to get laid. Yes.
And so I worked at a nightclub, and the nightclub out there was the Distillery East. And so there were a lot of rumors going around about the mafia owning it in the turn of the century. And so I always had that imaginative mind. So I took what the rumors I had and I put it all together, and I wrote a book. It took me freehand. Now, this is before computers, so I don't want to say how old I am, but it was 1992 when I wrote this freehand with a pencil. It's 800 pages. It just flowed.
Wow.
But you cut it back and cut it back and cut it back. Finally, I got it into a book form, sent it off to a horror place. It took me a couple years, and they published it. Uh, and then I started to learn how to do screenplays because of the acting and doing stunt work. And because you got to try to do all jack of trades when you're in this
Yeah.
type of business to make yourself more marketable. So um, I got it into a screenplay, and I think I was telling you before that in Massachusetts, I'm from Massachusetts in Boston. We only had at the time back in the early 2000s, maybe one movie that would come into Massachusetts. We didn't have tax incentives. You had to go to New York or LA, maybe even Rhode Island once in a while. So, you get a regular job. I was a firefighter EMT. Once Massachusetts adapted the tax incentives and all these movies came in, all those writings and screenplays that I have of the Ice House, I've revised it so many times. I dusted it off, and ever since then, I've been trying to make a right connection with it, um, and see if there's anybody out there would be interested in a. I'd say 40% true in the Ice House itself, what ghost wise and putting a story together. Yeah,
Now, how hard is it? So listen. I have like written down a whole book of different ideas for horror films, right?
yeah,
And most of them come to me from dreams. Now, but to put that into a screenplay, I mean that's a
yeah,
whole nother animal. But
yeah.
what you've done was you've took a book and you're adapting that into a screenplay. How hard is that? Because I mean, with a book, you're doing a lot of descriptors because you're allowing the audience to use their imagination. A screenplay is you're doing this one specifically for visual.
So what I learned through my mother, because she was a French novelist, um, and learned from other people, was a book you can expand a lot more. You can't put everything in the book in the screenplay, only the important plot points, and that's always been a problem. But I think that's why you're seeing more screenplays a little bit longer these days than usual, because they want to get everything in. But that's how I learned. So you would take the best of what you can out of it and just adapt it. And each point of the way you go, maybe the first 20 pages you'll introduce everything, and you'll have the setting it up, and then you have the middle, and then the conflict at the end. You have probably between 90 and 100 pages. So I learned very quickly, and I got doors slammed in my face very quickly, like everybody else. And many a times I would go and have a 6 pack of beer or drink Bacardi and Coke and just sit there to myself and say, what the hell do I have to do to get the attention? So I would set that aside for a while. Then the films would come up here, or the stunt work would come up here. And so I met a lot of people, and I've worked with a lot of good actors, and I've been very grateful for it, and been very lucky. And that's how you learn. You learn when you go on a movie set behind the scenes, of without pissing anybody off, without stepping on any toes, and still acting professional. That you have to, you do your research, and hopefully it pays off. And that's what I'm looking for right now. I have two right now. I have the Ice House, and I have another one called False Horizons. And it's basically about a counselor that gets hired up in the mountains of California, because I worked at a place where a co-op place where I was going to school before I didn't go to school anymore. And it was a chemical dependency place for kids. And some of the kids would go on their breaks, and they would come back, but they were hypnotized, and they would go and sell the nearest drugs, that because the border's right there. And so a counselor had to figure all this out, why the kids are missing and why people are missing in the town. So that's another one. But you write what you know. And sometimes when you have an idea, I don't know. I don't know if I have the right formula, but just, and it burns right here, just get it out on paper, and don't even worry about the spelling or anything until later. Just get everything out, you know?
Now, now,
That's,
so when you, now I have a question. When you're writing a screenplay, do you have a budget in mind? Because I mean, like, are you thinking like, okay, this would be great for a indie film, or
yeah.
this would be great for a big budget film?
So the way I learned as I went along, like everyone else, that each scene, if you, for instance, if you have the police department, the fire department, the DPW, if you have a building, or how many houses, you've got to figure out, oh, well, you know what, that's going to cost costumes, everything, details, police details, all kinds of crap. It can cost. You have to have it on your mind. I mean, it's always good to have that on your mind, because it's a good, at least they know when you're writing it that hey, this guy is trying to keep it to a minimum, or not, depending on what the story's about. But yes, absolutely, because I think in these days, you see everybody, they can come out, they can have a camera, they create their own movies and everything. You either want to put as much money into it or not. But if you go to these studios, I mean, that's the first thing they look at, I think, is the budget. Obviously, it depends if you've got a star attached to it, or a well-known actor, or. But if you're just starting out, like I'm just starting out in terms of the screenplay writing. As an actor, I've worked with a lot of good actors. As a stuntman, I've worked with a lot of good stunt people. But without the star power, or even at least one or two, it gets hard. But yeah, you definitely have to pay attention to it. If that answers anything, I don't know if I have any answers to
Yeah,
anything. I'm
that's
trying.
amazing.
You know, you know.
Now, why do you feel that, like, when it comes to big budget movies in Hollywood, why do you feel they're going to the same 10 guys to write for screenplays when there's a whole untapped market in the indie scene and the unknowns? Like, why not take that risk? I feel like you can even pay less, when it comes to getting a brand new screenwriter.
I think there are two sides to it that I understand the two sides. There's the one side that's already been proven, obviously, what it does at the box office and the camaraderie and who works well with who works, who works well with everybody. And I think it's a combination of a lot of things. A lot of times, I think people are too afraid to go outside that group. When you get there's a lot of good indie people I know that if they had that chance, kind of like Sylvester Stallone when he finally got that chance, but he was persistent. He kept going, he kept jabbing it in there, and it paid off. But he went through a lot, and I get it. You just can't give up. I wish they would take a little bit more chances because it could always be worked out where, well, if it's $1 million budget, maybe we can slash it to 500,000. If it's that workable, maybe I can grab somebody like I know here in Boston, like Lenny Clark, which is a comedian,
Mm-hmm.
or some other actors that are just coming out now. It all depends. I wish they would do that. Maybe they will. I don't know,
Yeah.
but don't give up. I'm not. That's why I'm here talking with you.
Because
So
I'm just saying, if I was a Hollywood, right, and of course with Hollywood, the bottom line, the budget is always what's important.
yeah,
I may take a chance on a no name or a new screenwriter because, unfortunately, not unfortunately, I don't have to pay them as much. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because I don't have to pay them much because I'm taking a huge risk because this is an unknown. So, like, at the end of the day, I'm saving money, but I'm also too I'm pumping in that fresh blood because what if I'm that studio that gives Jordan Peele or someone, their first crack and
right.
they blow up? And I feel like that screenwriter is going to be more loyal to me and they're going to start sending all the projects to me.
Yeah, and I agree with that because somebody like myself or someone else, I have the work background of I don't care if it's 16 hours a day. I mean, it's the passion. I love it. If someone would take a chance and if you've got somebody that's willing to put the time in, that has some skills behind, he's done his homework, he's been in some things, he's done some things. Yeah, why not? And if you and the whole idea is if you can get that budget, if you can make it look like it's $50 million or $20 million with a
Mm-hmm.
$20,000 budget, oh wow, that's something. Yeah, I would, but it's a matter of convincing people. I
Yeah.
mean, you just got to keep trying. Just keep going, and that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm grateful that you had me on here because um, one end of many things that I do is working or that's working but this one I really it's my goal. I would really like to get something that I've two things that I wrote and maybe that will lead to other things because I have ideas all the time. And so what I do now as a job, I'm a retired firefighter EMT. I went out to 9/11. I take
Wow.
from that when it's in different types of like for instance Mark Wahlberg when we were doing the marathon bombing movie. Um, I can relate to that because of what happened in New York when I was there in New York, and so you just recall things, and yeah,
That had been tough. That had been tough.
it was tough because you didn't know what you were really getting into other than the reports of what was
Yeah.
happening. It was tough in Boston when that happened because the same thing, the reports of what things were happening. I remember when I got a chance, and I remember when the director Peter Goldberg came up to me. I was playing one of the officers, and he gave me a speaking role with John Goodman in the beginning, and I got to be on the tactical team, and I got to meet a lot of the guys out there the police officers that were involved when that happened. A lot of people were there, and so you had a real life the look on their face because they already been through it. Um, Man, if you can write stuff like that and you can pay attention to the detail like that, I think you'll be successful. I really do, and that's what I'm looking for. So
Now, how important as a screenwriter? So, like, I've heard stories from other screenwriters where they sell their screenplay to a filmmaker or a production company,
yeah,
and they chop your fucking screenplay all apart.
yeah, they do. I have heard that. I that's I haven't had that happen because I haven't the
Mhm.
two of them that I have. But yeah, they'll. I heard that they will take it. They will chop it up their own way. I once had a guy from Rhode Island that was an agent that he was looking for something, and that's why I told him the story. He wanted to make it overnight, like it happened, all the horror story overnight. And I go, well, wait a minute now. I go, that's already been done by Quentin Tarantino. He wrote The Vampire with Dusk Till Dawn, and that
Mhm.
takes place overnight. Now, I'm not doing that. I'm doing something different from mine. It's and I said, no, I don't want to. You will find people like that. You just got to stick to what your guns. Stick to what the plan is, what you want in your head, and you'll probably get a lot of people that will say no, and hopefully you'll get someone that will take a chance on you. But yeah, some of them do. They'll sell it right away and they'll chop it up. And I don't know if they got a good, what do you call it? Good entertainment lawyer
Yeah,
that will make sure that they're still involved with it. But yeah, you do hear stories.
yeah, I've heard tons of stories about that.
Yeah.
Now, now, let's jump into you've acted, you're a stunt man. Now, how did you get into the entertainment industry?
Okay. All right. So I just came back from California, from San Diego. I went back home in Massachusetts. There was a movie called School Ties.
Hmm.
I heard. So I walked down there. I walked in and I did the research and I found the casting and they took me but they looked at me and they said, you're a little bit too big because this is a 50s movie and we're looking for football players and I said, okay. So it was going on for 6 months and so, or less, but it was enough time for me to lose 30 pounds because I wanted it that bad. And I walked on and he took me right away, the casting agent. But the reason why I stayed on so long is because of the free buffets, because of the
Oh,
free food. I would come in. I was non-union. I was making $40 for the day, but I took my Tupperware and I would shovel in about $100 worth of fucking food, and then I would go back to Cape Cod and that's I said, wow, I can do this. It's because of the buffet. And then you have the actors, the serious actors are like, what is your problem? And I would say, oh, fuck off. Just deal with it. Yeah. Yeah. But that's that's why. Yeah. As crazy
now,
as that is, stupid as
now,
that is. Yeah.
now, have you ever worked with like any of your idols or icons in Hollywood or acting, and you came across one, you're like, oh my goodness, this. Cause they say that the worst thing is to do is meet your heroes because it can lead to disappointment. Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah, I did. I was very grateful to be on this. I don't even want to mention the name. I mean, but let's just say that he's well known. We have I did the research. We had a lot in common. I was a football player. He was a football player, and very funny guy, comedian, and he was doing movies. And I was very lucky to be on the movie set right next to him. And all the other stars were happy-go-lucky. They were this, they were that, they were great. And he was in a bad mood the whole time, and I was just kind of like depressed me. Yeah. Very much so. Very much so to the fact that I was up for doing a photo double of him. And I didn't get it because there's like four other guys who look like a little bit more than him. But yeah, it was very disappointing. And then I've had ones that I worked with that were everything that I thought it would be, like Michael Keaton.
Hmm.
Michael Keaton, I remember, and I was right next to him when we were eating lunch, and in a couple scenes, and that was awesome. Or um, Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock in The Heat. I got a chance to be with her in a couple scenes. Um, they put a biker hairdo on me, long hair, and I grew a beard, and I was dressed up like Melissa McCarthy. And the joke, the gag was, okay, my head's down, and she lifts my head up in one scene at the bar when they're all drunk, and she's waking up, and she sees I have a beard, and she freaks out twice. So I had a lot of fun doing that. It was awesome meeting uh, all those actors and stuff, and they were great. They were awesome. And I learned a lot because after I was done with my scene, I would go off behind the scenes and sit there and watch how the chemistry and yeah. So you meet some that you're disappointed, and then you meet some that you're like, wow, this is great. Yeah,
See, I haven't met anyone famous, um, like on a movie set or anything like that. But I've definitely met famous people at like horror conventions or conventions,
yeah.
and and I not even in the convention, even like at sporting events and stuff like that, meet and greets. And I have met some people that I'm like, holy shit, how is this person? And this person has a great reputation as being a nice person, so forth. And you meet this person, and maybe they're just having a bad day. But like one person in particular, I've heard numerous people say, "Wow, this person is an asshole in real life."
Yeah,
Bruce
yeah.
Campbell. But listen, but like,
Sorry.
but like, and I'm like, wow, this person seems like such a nice guy in
Yeah,
his movies and on TV, but in his personal life, he's just miserable.
a douchebag. Yeah, a lot of them are. A lot of, but you know what? I think a lot of them have forgotten where they come from. Some of them,
Mhm.
and then some of them get heckled. I mean, I would hate for anyone to go through that, but that's what happens. You gotta. I don't know. Maybe have another drink. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just something. But I mean, you got to remember these people. These people put you the place that you are, and you
Hmm.
continue with your success. You got to continue to be nice, right? I would say you have to,
Or
of
just
course.
or pretend at least, right?
This is something, yeah. They're actors, so yeah, why not? So
It would be awful if someone met me like, listen, I'm not Bruce. I'm not Bruce Campbell, um, but at the same time, like if someone met me that was a fan of my show,
Bruce
and
Campbell, I know. Bruce
Bruce
Campbell.
Campbell,
It
Bruce
was
Campbell was a fucking asshole. I met him
oh,
twice, and he was an
so
asshole.
I was on Black Friday with Bruce Campbell. I had a small part. I played Lou the truck driver. And the only reason I got that, well, originally I was going to do the stunt work double, but this guy got COVID, the actor, so they took me. And so I got to play that part. And when they made me into a monster, so get listen, any role you can get, for me, any role I can get that's freaky
Hmm.
or shocking, that's the best. I turn into a monster in the shitter. I'm right. I turn into a monster. In the shitter, and Bruce Campbell's in the next stall with the other actor. So behind the scenes, when they're putting the monster makeup on me and everything, uh, I'm sitting in the chair, and he's right next to me. But you know how Bruce Campbell did Army of Darkness and all that back
Hmm.
then in the day, and it's pretty funny and everything. He was
Yeah.
making all these weird alien noises and everything. He wasn't. I mean, I don't know what happened with you, but he wasn't. He was all right. So I mean, I'm sure like maybe you just caught him at the
Hmm.
wrong point.
It could have been,
Maybe I don't know.
but I'm getting completely off topic. But I think a lot of, especially the horror conventions, I feel like a
Yeah,
lot of the people who are guests there, they're there for the money and not for the fans. You know what I mean? And it comes off that way.
You could tell.
Yeah, it comes off that way.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily there for the fans; they're there for the money, and and that's a I don't know. Listen, hopefully one day I'm famous enough that I can tell you, come back and tell you, hey, you know. But I mean, I can imagine it's no fun. Listen, I'm gonna take up for them. I can imagine it's no fun sitting in a hot hotel room,
Yep.
a line full of smelly people coming up to you, sweaty hands, shaking you, and to tell you their whole entire life story for 8 hours a day. This is for 3 days in a row. There's
Yeah.
no way that can be fun.
You
But
wanna you wanna know
but I'm about to say if you're making 10 to 50 grand, I'll be fucking smiling the whole entire time.
yes. Yeah, exactly. You know who's really good at always greeting people to his fans and everything is The Rock. I
I hear it's
was
amazing.
grateful to be in Central Intelligence and behind the scenes I worked as a stand-in, and I got to go back behind and I got to hang out, and just to see him, he would he would he would go out to the street and he would have pictures taken with all these kids and everything. It was awesome. And I got to meet his cousin who does stunts, does his stunts. And because I was into stunts, we had talked a little bit, not too much, but just enough. And that's another thing when you're on the movie set, you got to kind of feel it out where they're at. If they acknowledge you and come to you, then that's great. But sometimes they don't want to be bothered, and I get it because you're
Yeah,
trying to study your lines and try to remember what the hell you're supposed to do. So getting paid all that money. But I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
there are a few people that can really handle it pretty well, and he's one of them. Definitely.
I hear
Yeah.
the Rock is absolutely amazing. I hear. I mean,
Yes.
I've seen videos too. I mean, like he stops and. But by the way, Michael Jordan's an asshole too. But it's but I think everybody knows that, right? I think everybody
Yeah,
knows
I
that he's an
think
asshole.
so.
So I mean, I think
Yeah.
I don't think that's a surprise to anybody.
No.
All right, all right, so when do you decide? Okay, being a stuntman, right? That's a
Yeah.
dangerous fucking job. At what point did you decide? Hey, you know what? I'm gonna give this stunt thing a try.
Okay, so I was a football player, and then I was a firefighter. And so I'm used to the camaraderie. I'm used to the action. I'm used to working out all the time. Used to preparing. And so when your mindset is like that, I said to myself, a couple films I was on, they had me do little small stuff, but I was only making like $50 extra just to do a semi stunt. I said to myself, I can do this. I was an athlete, so I went through Seattle, Washington, USA Stunt School, which is the best. I learned so much from there. In fact, one of the stunt coordinators was training me. He's John Travolta's stunt double,
Nice.
and he played football at West Virginia, and we were talking about football, and so he was teaching me and telling me how to roll down the stairs and making sure my head is tilt this way, being lit on fire, doing somersaults, doing all kinds of stuff, falling five stories into a bag, making sure there's a certain look when you're going down with your head and then curving yourself and then hitting the mat. Are you sure this is what you want to do? And I go, yeah. And I was, at the time, I was 50 years old. I was 270 pounds. And I was keeping up with all these fucking young people that were in their 20s and 18 gymnasts. I'm not going to bounce off the goddamn floor. I'm not going to do three somersaults, okay, at my size. What it is what you get. You're going to get someone that's going to be a power person, and that's it. I'm gonna Western fight you, or I'm either gonna do some karate because I did as a little kid. I used to take taekwondo when I was 5 and started. I only stopped in high school because of football because I love football. But that's the best. That's the most you're gonna get, and you're gonna get somebody that's gonna say, "Okay, we're gonna prepare," and that's the whole thing. If you don't prepare and you don't pay attention, and you don't have good people around you that are watching you, then that's when the problems will start. If you have somebody, a good coordinator, and if you have a good background of preparing for everything, preparing for a script, preparing whatever you're doing in life or this, you'll be successful. But if you don't pay attention and don't have the right people with you, you're screwed. That's,
Oh,
I've seen people get hurt. Yeah.
now have you ever gotten hurt?
No, no. The most I ever did was I wrote in a stunt scene. This was a short film that I co-wrote and produced. It went to the Block Island Film Festival, and it did well. A bad day. I wrote myself on a car doing a stunt when the guy's trying to shake me and everything, and we calculated it out, and I got dumped into a mat. You don't see the mat, obviously, but as I got dumped down a little bit, the way I landed in my shoulder, but it was all right. But when you're playing football, you go 100%. You're going to come out with bruises, or that's the best scenario. Um, that's the only thing that's ever happened to me. Even when I've jumped at a high out, jumped high, I've always prepared. So I've never had a problem. So that's the only thing I can say, and I think some stunt people will tell you the same thing. You've really got to pay attention. Yeah.
Stunt people have balls, man. Got more balls than I do.
Man, a lot of those guys, I see a
Yeah.
lot of those guys are awesome. I mean, look what Tom Cruise is doing,
Mhm.
and that's amazing. So, am I ever going to be 180 pounds or 90 pounds? No, I'm going to be 260 to 280, and that's just it. If you want me to fall, I'll fall. If you, if you, I'm not going to, you know what I mean.
Yes.
I'm not going to do what a 180-pound guy does. So, I don't know, but I do the best I can. That's all I can do. Yeah,
Now, Christopher, where
yeah.
can everyone find you? And also, too, if someone's interested in your screenplay, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can. I'm on LinkedIn, Christopher Michael. I'm also on Facebook, and yeah, pretty much, pretty much LinkedIn because it's professional. But Facebook, if you can hit me up, and then I have where you can send stuff, to be more private because, and it's another thing too with social media. I've get a lot of people that come on claiming to be people, and they're scams.
Yeah,
So many damn fucking scams out there. I want to wring their necks.
everywhere. They're
So
fucking everywhere.
yeah, it's awful. It's awful. So but I think more the LinkedIn would be more professional. If you drop a line on Facebook, fine. We'll see what happens. If you're funny, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I don't know.
But
You know
also, you also go on IMBD, and you
Yes,
can also look
IMDb.
up
That's right.
Christopher
Thank you.
Michael, and you can see all the films that he is in. Like,
Yes.
I'm going to watch Heat with Sandra Bullock because I haven't seen that movie. I hear it's a funny movie. So
Oh my God.
yeah,
It's kind of like Caddyshack, the first one. I don't think they tried to do a second one. You can't really top it.
no,
Or Animal House. You're not gonna. That's why you don't see a sequel. But this one, Paul Fig. I don't know. You probably could, but that would be a hard thing to do if that's how good it was. I mean, I sat there and laughed the whole way through the movie, watching everything with all the actors and everything. It was just, yeah, it was that good. It's kind of like a young Frankenstein. You didn't see a repeat because, you know, yeah,
love it. Well, Christopher,
yeah.
listen, it's been a blast having you on, man.
It's been a pleasure, and I'm very grateful, and I thank you, and we'll stay in touch and see what happens.
Most definitely, man.
Just
Wish
keep,
nothing but the best.
yeah.
And but yep, more than welcome. Come on anytime, man. I tell that to everybody, but you're more than welcome. Come on anytime, man.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
very much. Thank
All
you.
right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the horror realm. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Christopher Michael. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.